Hey there, I'm Sandy Reese, Chief Encouragement Officer here at Get Fully Funded, where we help small nonprofits learn how to raise the money they need to fully fund their mission. I'm here to help you learn how to master the art and science of fundraising, and I've got a great tip for you in just a moment. But before we get to that, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that the next time we post a really great tip like this one, you're among the first to know. Okay, on to this week's tip.
When you're first getting started with your nonprofit, you're probably looking for things that are fast and cheap and easy to use, and I totally get all of that. But there's a couple of other things you want to take into consideration when you start thinking about how you want to ask people to give. So I'm talking about like what is the thing that's going to power that donate button so that when somebody is online and they find you and they want to give, how is that going to happen? There are different options available. So one of the things that we see a lot with organizations that are brand new is they go set up a PayPal account and they use a PayPal button. It's easy. Most people have used PayPal. And the nice thing is if you don't want to use your PayPal account, which I have 2 PayPal accounts, I don't really like using them. I would rather click the little button, and it's hard to see the little link that says I'd rather just use a debit or a credit card. So that's great for people like me. I don't want to use PayPal. Fine, whatever. It'll handle it. So there's a couple of things you need to know about this, okay? And you need to think about. Number one, you've got to think about what works for you and what works for your audience. So obviously cost is a factor when you're just getting started. I remember when I started this organization, I didn't really get too excited about taking credit cards because there's a fee. And if you go out and start looking for like free credit card merchant accounts, there's really not such a thing. You're going to pay some percentage of the transaction, or it might be like 3% plus 25 cents or 0.1%, like whatever it is, there's going to be a fee associated with it somehow. And a lot of people think, oh, we just need to get the cheapest thing. So they're making their decision based on cost. I get that that is not always the best way to make this decision. Cost is definitely a factor, and you do want to look at what you're paying to be able to process credit cards online. If you haven't looked at this lately, I would recommend you go have a look at what you're paying for somebody to use their credit card on your website to make a donation. At a minimum, you need to know what those numbers are, okay? So cost is one factor, but that should not be your only factor. There are actually 2 more things that I want you to think about when you start evaluating how you're going to set up a donate button so that people can give. The second one is the system and what happens to the donation information after somebody gives. So ideally, what you want to have is a place on your website where somebody can go click the donate button. They fill in right there their name and address, their credit card information. They click donate, boom, it processes. And you want all that information to go directly into your donor database. So if you're using Little Green Light, Bloomerang, Kindful, any of those kind of tools that we recommend, you want this to automatically process. So here's something that can happen with PayPal, depending on your system. If you're using PayPal to process those donations, you might find yourself like a lot of other people having to go pull a report every month and then manually enter that stuff into your software. Maybe because it doesn't connect or you haven't figured out how to connect it. Sometimes you can connect it, not always. So that's a problem. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to have to spend time manually entering stuff. We need to make sure your system is working. So when you start looking at processors, that's what you want to be thinking about. So for example, we have a couple of clients who use Little Green Light. I love Little Green Light. I think it's easy to use. And you can get Little Green Light forms, and it has a merchant account, like that's part of it. So you set the form up on your website, and then you can connect the fields to your Little Green Light account. So when somebody hits your website and they make their donation, boom, it automatically not only kicks out a thank you, which is great. You don't have to do that either, but the data automatically flows into your software. And then the next time you log in, you just see a list of all the donations that have come in. Pretty cool, right? Listen, you got to systematize anything and everything you can, because saving money saving time saves money. Saving money means that you have more money you can spend on changing lives. That's really what this is all about, right? So as you're evaluating which donate button do you want to use, yes, think about cost. You want to try to get as low cost as you can, but you also want to look at How is this thing interfacing with your system? Is it flowing right in, or are you having to back up and do a lot of manual entry because you don't want to do that? The third thing, and maybe the most important thing, and a lot of people forget this, most people get stuck on costs. They don't think about anything else. Please don't do that. It's not the best way to run your organization. The third thing, and probably the most important thing, is donor experience. What is it like to be a donor, landing on your website, clicking that donate button? What happens? How many times do they have to click? How many fields do they have to fill in? How many different pages do they have to go through? Because here's the thing, friends. Every extra page that somebody has to click on is one more opportunity for them to say, I'm not doing this, and for them to bounce out. You don't want that. You want them to follow all the way through with the donate. I've seen donate buttons that are incredibly hard to use. The ones I really personally hate are the ones that ask me to set up an account and give them a password. Personally, as a donor, I will bounce. I'm not doing that. I don't want to. That's a hassle. I just want to make a donation, and I've got like all these other jillion nonprofits that I can go to their website and make a donation. They don't make me fill out, give them an account and a password. I don't want to do it on your site. So you got to think about donor experience. The more you ask people to do, the less likely they're going to be to do it. So keep it simple, keep it really easy to do. And if you have not tested your own donate button lately, I'm going to encourage you to do it. And then every time you do some kind of campaign, whether you're sending out an appeal through the mail or through email, or it's an event you're about to host, or it's a $5 Friday, or it's a whatever, Giving Tuesday, doesn't matter. Go test your donate button before you start out on that campaign, because you need to make sure everything's working. Sometimes weirdness happens when websites update and it maybe is giving people an error message and you don't even know it. If that's the case, you're losing money, and you don't even know that's happening. So test your donate button. You can donate $5 to your own organization periodically just so you can make sure everything's working. Double check at that point that you have a nice thank you page. So the first thing somebody sees after they click the submit button on their donation is a page that says, thank you. I was just actually talking with some of our clients about this yesterday. The page needs to be very warm and say thank you. You can put a video on that page. You can put all kinds of stuff on that page and tell people what's going to happen next. You can say, hey, here's what you can expect next. If you go look in your inbox right now, there is a thank you / receipt in there. If there's a problem, here's what you need to do. In a few days, you're going to get an additional piece of information, blah, 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 or whatever is going to happen. You want to set that expectation right from that point, especially for new donors. It's super important because now they won't be surprised when they get email from you, when they get a newsletter, when they get more updates, because you've set that expectation up front. All right, so 3 things you need to think about when you're just trying to decide which is the best way to ask people for money. Think about cost. Yes, get the best deal you can. Go check with your donor software, because system is number 2. See if there's a way for you to process donations through your CRM tool, your donor tracking software. And number 3, really take a hard look at your donor experience, because if it's hard to give, people are not going to give, and you don't want that. So check that donate button, check it often during the year to make sure that people are still getting the result that you want them to give. The more you learn, the more ideas you'll get for ways that you can improve that process or make that thank you a little warmer. So 6 months from now, you might have a whole bunch of new ideas about how to make that all better. And I want you to have that opportunity to go make those updates. Okay. That is it for today, as far as here's some different ways to take those donations. All right, that's it for now. See you next time, everybody. Bye.